guys, it's Mary from Rocky Mountain Gardens, and I'm here today to show you how I'm starting my spring cleanup in my garden in my backyard. And I'm going to show you a before little video of two of my garden areas, and then I will also film the after so you can see what it looks like. And I want to talk about a few tips on preparing your beds for the summertime and for all the growth and the beautiful flowers you would like to have. So stay tuned, I'll be right back. Before the lighting gets too harsh today, I thought I would give you a view of two sections of my garden that I'm going to be cleaning up today, doing my spring cleanup. In this section you can see I have a lot of irises planted, but I also have some invasive grasses coming up that I need to get in there and dig out. And then of course cutting back my zebra grass over here. And cleaning out this little pot that had some annuals planted in it. Have some lamb's ear here that is covered with dead leaves. And of course I had to have this large container here that needs to be cleaned out and gotten ready for planting this year. And here you can see some more dead plants in a little glove lying there that got forgotten. I'm also going to try to complete the cleanup of this bed over here in front of my back porch. My golden privet here needs to be cut back a little. And then I have a Carl Forster feather reed grass that needs to be taken care of, all trimmed back. And you know, the other plants, here I have blue oat grass that needs a trim also, and of course raking out all the dead leaves. So after I'm done, we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. There, off in the distance a little bit right there, is what is left of my zebra grass. I have cut it down almost to the ground, and of course it will be coming back full strength later in the spring. I have my pots cleaned out, my lamb's ears is cleaned up, and I have dug out all the grass that was growing between my iris bed here. And you can see everything is cleaned off. And I've also cleaned out this pot. On this flower bed, you can see that I've cut down the Carl Forster feather reed grass close to the ground, and the green is starting to show there. And then with my golden privet, I have cut it back so that it is lower than the railing on my porch railing area, so that when you're sitting on my porch you can see out into the garden. And coming over here, my blue oat grass has been trimmed back. My Veronica is beginning to come and be growing here. And I have a couple of little, let's see if I can get my shadow out of the way here. I have a couple of Heucheras here and right here. They'll be quite gorgeous soon. All right, I wanted to show you the tools that I like to use when I'm working on my spring cleanup. Of course, I need my nitrile gardening gloves. I have a kit that I use and carry around the garden with me when I am doing my spring cleanup, because there are several steps that I do. And one of them is checking all of my drip lines. So out here in Colorado, where water is more precious, rather than having overhead sprinklers, using a drip line directly to the plants you like to water really does conserve on your water consumption. In my kit, of course, I have a trowel, I have a hammer, I have a small garden rake that I can use to pull away dead leaves or any mulch that I want to move. I have a pair of scissors. I have some of the tubing that I use to connect to my drip lines. I have landscaping staples. A little hard to see maybe. Let's see. Can you see it there against my porch swing? It's just a metal staple that I use to hold the drip lines in place so the water is coming out directly on each plant. And then I have connectors to, I forget what these are called, I think emitters, but you use them to connect to your main drip line and attach more of the small hoses. So this kit I take with me as I work around my yard. Now, one of the main things I do here, because my soil happens to be very sandy, is to add compost. Let's see if I can lift this up. I get this from Lowe's or something similar from Home Depot, but here it is. It is a dairy manure organic composted product. So composted manure, it's organic, it's very inexpensive, and last year, because I had neglected my garden for a couple of years since I was so busy, last year I really spread a lot of compost around my garden, each of my beds. But this year I'm going to go ahead and top dress all of my plants with some more composted manure to add more nutrients to my soil. And lastly, something else I like to add is for my flowering perennials, I like to add this Espoma Organic Flower Tone, it's called. And I use Flower Tone around any of my flowering plants for, you know, extra nutrients for the soil. And then for my larger bushes or non-flowering plants, I like to use this Osmocote Plus, and I just sprinkle it around each plant and work it in with my garden trowel. So this is not so much to encourage flowering as it is to encourage, you know, healthy plants and lots of growth over the season. So I'm going to do a little demonstration in my one flower bed over here so that you can see exactly how I go about this process. Here is my burgundy leafed, kind of a curly leaf Heuchera. I have some obedient plant growing here. It's kind of a volunteer in this area. Then I have a lovely Veronica here in the corner that is going to bloom early in the spring. And this, with the tiny, tiny leaves just starting to pop out, is sage, culinary sage that you can, you know, eat as an herb. And then, of course, back here, you can barely see is my blue oatgrass. So I'm going to be putting some compost and fertilizer around each of these three plants because they're some of my favorites and I want them to do well. Let's get started on that. So as you can see, I just took my trowel and took several scoops of compost and placed it around each plant. And now I'm going to do what is cultivating. So I'm just going to dig it into the soil, a small amount, not super deep. And because we are expecting snow tomorrow, it will be great for this to get some moisture into, added to the soil to help that work its way in. Now next, on my Heuchera, I'm going to put some of the flower tone, and I'm going to put that also around my flowering Veronica here. And lastly, I'm going to take Osmocote to place around my sage. Both of these are slow release fertilizers and add nutrients to your soil. So of course you want to work that in as well. And there I have these 3 plants are all ready for the spring. Now, additionally, I wanted you to know I checked my drip line for my blue oatgrass, but these plants here in the front of this bed do not need to be on the drip line because right next to these rocks, well, you can't see them in this picture, there is grass. And I do have overspray from my sprinklers for the grass. I have this small patch of grass in my yard, so the overspray comes and waters the front part of this bed, so I don't have to worry about drip lines for that. All right, I took my camera down off the tripod so I could give you a close-up of how this drip line works. It has an emitter right here, and here's the little tubing that comes out that you connect to, and then it comes right on over here to the plant itself. And as you can see, I do still have some leaf litter left on the soil. I raked away most of it, but I wanted to leave some behind because I would like to, over the course of the summer, dig this into the soil as well. It helps to keep the soil aerated, and leaves add also more nutrients to the soil. So we're going to come up here, and I wanted to also show you this really pretty Heuchera that I have growing here. I just love it. But sometimes you have leaves that are damaged by frost, you know, just aren't looking the best. So you may snip them off, like this one here, if you want to have a fresher look. Here's a leaf that looks newer, one of the new babies. And coming in the center, you can see here's another little baby growing. So you can go ahead and groom your Heucheras if you like in the spring. As the new foliage comes out, it will just fill this space for this plant and look beautiful again. Okay, and then also here in the background you can see I have added some compost to the soil around the back side of my golden privet, and then I'm going to come around the front and do the same. I'm going to add some Osmocote to the soil, and I'll probably use flower tone on my Heuchera. All right, now I'm going to add the other fertilizers as well. Okay, here I am cultivating in the compost and the fertilizers. Now, you don't have to worry too much about burning your plants with these fertilizers because the Osmocote is slow release, and the Flower Tone from Espoma, being organic, is a very slow working product as well. So it really won't harm your plants or the roots of your plants, and you don't have to worry so much about burning anything with these type of fertilizers. All right, so there's my little demonstration on prepping my garden beds this spring. We do cleanup, we do cultivating, adding compost and fertilizer, and trimming back also plants that need to be trimmed all the way back to the ground, which are most perennials, or ornamental grasses, and bushes and other plants often need trims. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration of the beginning of my garden cleanup this year. And I'll be back soon with another video where I will show you how I am prepping up all of my garden containers for those plantings, which won't happen until after Mother's Day here in Colorado. The conventional wisdom says wait until then, and hopefully we won't have a freeze. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.